Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys taking some time to check today's video out. And got a good video for you guys today. This is one actually that was a suggestion or a request from a subscriber yesterday. They wanted to know about how to match up the correct hook style and size to a variety of different soft plastic lures. So this is a great video idea. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of different ins and outs to it. So I'm sort of going to give you guys a comprehensive little overview of how I do it, how I set it up, and how it works for me. I think it's going to help you guys out too. Real quick, guys, just want to thank everybody again for supporting the channel by checking out our View Products shopping tab. When you guys video comes on at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a thing that says View Products. And guys, if you want to help the channel out, there's not a better way you can do it than just click on those products. You got to click on the product you want to check out and then go to the site where it's on and just look at it, and channel gets credit every time you click twice on it. So really, really good way to help out if you'd like to incline to do that, plus check out some cool products. So, okay guys, let's get into this a little bit. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some basic soft plastic categories, and I'm going to show you the hooks I use, explain to you why I choose these hooks and why I choose a particular size. First of all, before I get into this, I want to say one thing about hook size in general. I think that the majority of the bass anglers in this country, they put too big of hooks into their soft plastics. It's been my experience, and this I've learned the hard way, guys, because I've lost a lot of fish over the last 30 years experimenting with this. It's been my experience that if I go to what I consider, if I'm looking at a hook and a bait and I say that thing looks a little bit too big, or if I say that thing looks a little too small in there, you will catch more fish if you go to the hook that looks a little bit too small over the one that looks too big. Number one, it has a lot to do with the bite, or excuse me, with the bite gap and the diameter of the hook. As far as in terms of penetration, a smaller hook will penetrate easier than a big one. And also, I think a bigger hook acts as a strike deterrent. You don't want to have any hardware on a bait. Ideally, you don't even want a hook showing. So I think by going to a little bit smaller hook than what you think you should use, you're going to get more bites and land more fish. So given that, I'm going to show you how I pair them up. So let's start out, guys. Let's talk about the soft plastic stick bait. This is a popular one. Everybody uses a good way to catch a lot of bass. And I want to talk about the way that I like to rig it as far as Texas rig applications and all this. Now, the hook that I like to use for this, it's a 2-aught Gamakatsu Finesse heavy cover hook. Now, this is a nano. All these hooks I'm showing you are the G Finesse models. They're all nano coated. They got needle point hooks on them. And I find that on like a 5 or 6 inch soft plastic stick bait, that a 2-inch a 2-aught hook works better. So I come in about 1/4 of an inch, and then what I do with it is I hook it through the side of the worm. You know, I just see like that. I've got it just through the side, and what happens is when the fish bites it, it tears away from there, and you will land a lot more fish. Now, if you would hook it like most people do, straight in the middle like that, guys, you're going to lose a lot of fish like that. This is not a good way to do it. This is the way most people do it that you do not want to do. I don't even like coming all the way through with it. Just put it in the side like this. Guys, it's completely weedless like that. I get a lot of bites with it and never have any problems with it. Okay, that's soft plastic stick baits. Next one, let's talk a little bit about creature baits. Now, I've got a Zoom Z-Craw right here. I've experimented with a lot of different hook styles and everything. And guys, there's only one situation that I will use an EWG. Everything else is a straight shank. And for the Z-Craw and other larger creature baits like this, I'm using a 3-aught. This is the Gamakatsu flip punch hook. Now, this is a fairly stiff hook, although it does have a fairly small diameter. And going in right in the middle here. And one of the reasons you don't want to hook this thing in the side here is because the way that the creature bait falls with the tails on it, if you hook it in the side, it'll tend to fall sideways. But if you hook it like this, it's going to fall straight. But there is some things that you're going to do here, and I'll show you the reason why I come through. So now what I do here, I come right through the center, but I'm coming all the way through it like that. And once I do come all the way through, I bring it back through, and I just barely hook it in the skin of the plastic like that, and it becomes perfectly weedless again, just like that. You know, I can get it through the thickest cover, but by coming all the way through and putting it back in there like that, I've already penetrated the mass of the plastic. Now again, guys, this is a 3/0 hook. I think one of the biggest, see how that sets in there nice? And like I said, since the hooks are already through there, you've already got the main penetration. When you set the hook on there, it just breaks free and you'll get them like that. Now, I think, like I was saying, one of the biggest mistakes I see guys use with creature baits is they put like a big Mongo 4 or 5/0 hook in it. Guys, I found that on most creature baits, even the big one, like the 3/0 is a really good size. The key on those is having a stiff hook. You don't want any flex, because most of the time when you're fishing a creature bait, you're pitching it and flipping it on, 15 to 25 pound test line. So that's the one I use for that. Now, let's talk a little bit about the larger worms. Now, the larger worms with this, guys, is like if you're using like a big giant worm like this, like a big one. A couple different things. Most of the time when you're using a big worm, you're casting these things on some type of structure, usually off deeper points around brush piles, all that type of stuff. And from that standpoint, even though this is a big worm with a lot of plastic on it, I still like the wire hook. So I go again with the Finesse Gamakatsu heavy cover worm hook here. And this is a 3/0. Seems a little bit small, guys, but by putting that 3/0 in there in the head, and then again, skin hooking it just like that on the side, you don't need any bigger hook than that. I mean, you can, if you're fishing, deep water, you're all concerned about penetration. You're not concerned about power on a situation like that. So when I'm casting a big worm with this much plastic in it, I want maximum penetration. And I find that just by skin hooking in the side with a 3/0 hook, you're going to catch a lot more fish. And I've experimented, guys, with 5/0 hooks. I've used a lot of 5/0 hooks, and I simply just get more bites on the smaller ones. So how I found this out, real quick, I'll tell you the story. I was fishing a tournament at Grand Lake about 15 years ago or so. And I noticed that one of the things that I noticed was in practice, I don't ever use my regular hooks. I've got like a junk hook box. And in practice, I was pitching and flipping these flooded willow trees with a creature bait. And I had like a little bitty junky 2/0 hook, just something I didn't care if I lost them or not. I just had it in my junk hook box. And guys, I couldn't get those fish off of there. I was trying to shake them off, and before I cut the hook off, and it's like every time that I got a bite, they were hooked perfectly through the mouth. So in the tournament, I went to my traditional 4 or 5/0 straight shank, flipping hook. And guys, I couldn't keep the fish on. It's like I'd set the hook and they'd come out of the bush and they'd come off. And I wound up losing half the fish that I hooked in that tournament on that big flipping hook. And the very next tournament I went to, I said, there's something to that. And I went to the smaller hook, and guys, I have upped my hook or up my bite land ratio unbelievably just by going with a small hook. Now, a lot of you guys are going to feel a little weird doing that. You may feel uncomfortable, but just give it a try and trust me with it. Okay, guys, the next one we're going to talk about is the like a finesse worm, a straight-tailed plastic worm, whether it be, this is a Zoom Trick worm or Robo worm, something like that. In that situation, again, I'm using a 2/0, the Finesse heavy cover worm hook coming in through the head, and I'm hooking it the same way that I do with the soft plastic stick bait. I'm just going through the side of it, just like that. Now, this would be for some type of a flipping and pitching situation. Most of the time I use a trick worm on a shaky head, but this is the way that I would set my straight worms up for that. Straight shank hook, 2/0 like that. And finally, guys, the only time that I do use an EWG style, well, one would be on a tube. I use a tube on it, but on like a fluke type bait. And I'm going with like a 2/0 to 3/0. This is a Gamakatsu hybrid worm hook, the offset hybrid worm hook. And simply coming through like a 1/4 of an inch like you do traditionally. Coming through the top. And sometimes I will use a straight shank on these and expose the hook on the outside, but basically I'm just coming all the way through, laying that hook right to the top where it comes through perfectly. And like I said, by going with the smaller size, see how it sort of lays in there nice. If you go to too big of a hook, that's going to stand out too much. And again, like I said, the only other time that I use the offset is with the tube. So that's sort of, guys, what's worked for me. I've experimented a lot, and everything that I showed you right here was based upon the school of hard knocks and going through these lessons the hard way. They came from losing a lot of fish. They came from experimenting with different hooks. And this is what works best for me. I get more bites and I land more fish just going over the system that I just showed you. So give it a try, guys. If you guys are having a problem with it, try that. I think it's going to help you all out. So we'll talk later.